right, so 2009's Avatar is written and directed by James Cameron and tells the story of Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington, who is a Marine soldier who heads to the planet of Pandora, and basically his mission is to get into this Avatar body that looks like the Na'vi tribe that lives on the planet, infiltrate the tribe, get them to trust him, and then basically have them move out of the way so they can get this substance that they have called unobtainium. So yeah, it's essentially about humans infiltrating an alien territory in order to get their substances. Does that sound familiar? I'm pretty sure it does. But yeah, like I said, Sam Worthington plays Jake Sully. We also have Zoe Saldana as Natiri, one of the natives of the Na'vi tribe. And she's basically like the second to main character, I guess I would say. She has a very important role in this movie, not just as kind of the love interest, but as kind of a badass herself. I think she's a badass in her own right. We also have Sigourney Weaver as Dr. Grace Augustine. Sigourney Weaver in this movie, they kind of set her up to be one thing and kind of had her do another thing. And that's not a bad thing, what I'm describing. If you've seen the movie, maybe you kind of know what I'm talking about. But they kind of set her up to be one way and make her another way. And I very much liked what they did with her character, for the most part at least. I think they could have done a little bit more, especially with such a long runtime. We also have Stephen Lang as Colonel Miles Quaritch. Hopefully I'm saying that right. He's the muscle, he's the gunner, he's the badass that will take you out and look good doing it. He's a piece of shit for sure. He's the kind of guy you really want to see die, but at the same time, he's Stephen Lang, so he's really fun to watch on screen, and the way he plays the character, I would say, is pretty fun as well. We also have Michelle Rodriguez as Trudy Chacon. Hopefully I'm saying that right. She's kind of the pilot in the group here. Very capable behind the wheel or the stick of a plane or whatever it might be. We also have Giovanni Ribisi, hopefully I'm saying that right, as Parker Selfridge, the kind of mastermind behind this whole mission to get unobtainium. We have Joel David Moore as Norm Spellman, kind of the second in command, or maybe not second command, but like the second-hand man to Jake Sully in this movie. His wingman, essentially. Let me see who else we have here. We have Laz Alonso as Tsute, hopefully I'm saying that right. Another one of the natives of the Na'vi tribe. We have CCH Pounder as Moat, the mother to Natiri, and then Wes Studi as Utakan, hopefully I'm saying that right, as the father of Natiri. And that's pretty much the main cast for you there. Pretty great cast, I would say, with Stephen Lang, Sigourney Weaver, Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana. I mean, everybody involved, I think, does a really great job and brings their A game and does their best with what they're given. At times, I do think a lot of the dialogue in this film falls a little bit flat. And I do think there are some kind of one-note characters, especially with the villains. Stephen Lang's character, kind of one-note. Giovanni Ribisi's character, Parker Selfridge, he almost doesn't feel necessary in this movie at all. It almost feels like Miles Quaritch, played by Stephen Lang, could have been the just one main villain of this movie. But they decided to have some sort of mastermind behind him for whatever reason, just to kind of have, I guess, comic relief, but he really wasn't that funny, and he was kind of just a douchebag. So, when it comes to Sigourney Weaver in this film, I very much liked her. I mean, I like her in pretty much every role I see her in, but I think she does good in this role with what she's given. At times, I wish she was given more, but yeah. I mean, it's an almost 3-hour movie. I don't feel like there's anything that should fall flat in this film, but there's a few things that really do, as I said before, with the dialogue and some of the kind of one-note characters in here. But Sam Worthington, I would say, along with Zoe Saldana, they're obviously the two standouts of this film. They're the two main characters of this film, so they should be the standouts. But I have a lot of fun with those two characters, and I like to see their relationship together and see them start to trust each other more, learn from each other. I think watching them together makes this movie worth watching for sure. Not only that, but also the visual effects of this film. The film came out 13 years ago in 2009, and for the most part, a lot of the effects do hold up. I did not watch the re-released version in theaters, and the version I watched on Disney Plus, I don't think is that version as far as I know. So maybe with that re-released version, they had some slightly better effects. But in here, there's times where it looks almost photorealistic and times where it just does not look good at all. Like it looks, I don't even know how to describe it. Like again, don't know exactly how to describe it. Just kind of looks like a CGI clusterfuck. I guess that's the word I'll use. Um, there's times where it looks like that, and there's other times where it looks photorealistic. And I would say there's probably not a single shot in this movie that doesn't have a, one speck of CGI on the screen. So for a film that's pretty much purely CGI, and to have it hold up this well 13 years later, I would say that's accomplishment in its own right for sure. I mean, it's one of the biggest movies that we've ever had for sure. I think it's back at that number one spot for the highest grossing film of all time because of that re-release. Avengers Endgame did beat it for a while, but I think it took that number one spot again. And it did that for a reason, because this is a revolutionary film. It did something that really no film at the time had done. Films, of course, now have done stuff like that. And, there's some other stuff. There's some other movies that kind of tried to do what they were doing in here before, but just didn't quite make the mark. And in here, it's just like James Cameron got it right. He knew when the right time to do it was, and he did it. And I can commend him for that. I respect him for that for sure. But yeah, like I said, those real big complaints is the dialogue, the one note characters, and also just I guess the one note character thing can also be part of this. But I felt a really hard time latching on to certain characters. There's a few times where a few characters throughout the movie die, and I just don't really care. And they're supposed to be characters you really cared about. There's one in particular where I was just like, well, I like the actor, so the fact that that character died is sad. But other than that, like I really did have a hard time latching onto those characters, which is something I hope they kind of build upon more in Way of the Water. I hope that the emotion hits me a little bit more when it comes to those kind of relationship kind of aspects of the film, especially when it comes to in the new movie when they have a family. I think that'll tug on my heartstrings for sure. But in this, I just had trouble really latching on certain people. And maybe it's because of some of that CGI where it just like it's hard to see them at times as, actual, maybe not people, but you know what I mean? Like actual beings. It's hard to see them as actual beings rather than just like somebody voicing over an animation, a really well done animation, really well done CGI, but like it's kind of hard to latch onto at times just because of that. I feel like at times just the way that the visual effects are for the time. You don't always see the emotion in their eyes, especially there's one scene in particular where Natiri is crying and you don't really see any tears in her eyes. They make it convincing enough, but I just wish there was a little bit more emotion behind those eyes rather than just kind of feeling a little blank at times. But yeah, again, everybody involved does a really great job, with what they're given. I think the visual effects still hold up 13 years later, which is a big accomplishment in its own right. There are plenty of things that I would take out of maybe not plenty, but there are definitely quite a few things that I would take out of this movie. I would definitely shorten it by like 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes. Don't think it needs to be quite as long as it is. There was a point where I got to, it was about an hour and 5 minutes left. I was like, it feels like this movie's going to wrap up in like 20, 30 minutes tops and still have an hour left. So yeah, I do think it does kind of have a pacing issue, especially towards the middle of the movie there when you kind of see all the Na'vi getting ready for the big fight. That's when it really kind of slows down, and it's because you're ready to watch them fight. You just watch a lot of destruction. You just watched a lot of shit go down. You're ready for them to go do that, but you got to wait a little bit. Which, some people might not mind, but me personally, I'm just like, I feel like we could have kind of fast forward through this a little bit. We didn't need to like really see every last bit of it. But then by the end, the climax, the last like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of the film, my eyes were glued to the screen. I couldn't look away at all. The final fights that you see in there are impactful. They're, in fact, all the fights, like the war scenes in this movie, especially in the climax of the film, some of the best like war scenes I've seen in a movie in quite a long time. And I've seen really good war movies. Like 1917, I wouldn't say it's quite at that level. It's a little bit different. And with the CGI, it's cool because they're like able to do different things. So like with explosions, they have horse type creatures. So you get to see horses like get blown back like they actually would in an actual war. But they don't really always show that in actual war movies and stuff like that. It's not always as easy to show because, you can't do that to an actual horse, and they don't always have the budget for, a CGI horse. So in here, it's all CGI, so they can just do whatever they want essentially, which is really cool. But yeah, like those war scenes, they were impactful, and when certain characters died off, I was like, shit, damn, dude, that's like, and like to see those certain Navi tribe members get plucked off by the human characters, it makes you hate that human character, even if you don't know who that human character is. You're like, fuck this guy. I want to see this guy die, even though I don't know who you are, because you just killed some of them, and I care about them. So that I think for the most part, I latch on to the idea of the Navi more than the actual people themselves, like the individuals. Um, I it's easy to feel for them because they're having their land taken away. It's a very, it's a story that we've all heard before because it's something that's happened in our history, not just American history, but, all over the world. It's something that's, we can, a lot of places can relate to is having things stolen from other people. So yeah, I mean, it's a human story, in a non-human setting, I guess you could say. So, in that aspect, I think it really does work. I like the idea of this movie more than the actual execution at times. But at the end of the day, I do want to say that this is a fantastic film. I think it's one that people should respect and appreciate. Don't necessarily say you have to love it or like it even, but you gotta at least respect it for what it is, and I personally do. This is no longer a movie that's in theaters, so I'm gonna do my regular kind of ranking system, but I'm gonna do a streaming ranking system as well. It's pretty simple when it comes to streaming. Premium subscription. What else? Standard subscription, basic subscription with ads, free trial, cancel your subscription. I would probably put this at a standard subscription. It's the kind of thing that I wouldn't necessarily pay extra for, but it's worth, the price to get the streaming service. And same kind of goes for the movies, premium ticket, standard ticket, discounted ticket, free ticket. I would give it a standard ticket, worth the price of admission for me, but not necessarily worth paying extra for. I mean, for a movie like this, it's worth paying extra for IMAX and IMAX 3D inevitably because, that's the way James Cameron wants it. But for me personally, I wouldn't pay extra if I didn't have to, I guess, if I didn't really have to review it and get the director's vision, the way that the director wants you to watch it. So yeah, standard subscription and standard ticket for both. I think it's worth the price of admission. It's worth the price of getting a streaming service for, or like, you know what I mean, getting the monthly trial or whatnot. It's on Disney Plus if you want to watch it. Definitely worth downloading, or not downloading, but getting that monthly subscription to watch it at least, because I don't think it's that much. It's like what, $6.99, $7.99 a month for Disney Plus, or depending on which bundle you do. I mean, you want Disney Plus anyway. There's plenty of stuff to watch on there, so you're gonna get it anyway. You might as well watch Avatar, if you have 3 hours to kill. So there's my review for 2009's Avatar. Have you seen it? What did you think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you in the middle? I like it, but I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't dislike it. As I said before, it's a perfectly adequate film for me. There's just a lot of things that I would probably change and do differently, and then just some aspects that were a little bit harder for me to latch onto. But at the end of the day, I have immense respect for this film. I have immense respect for James Cameron, and immense respect for the things that this film was able to accomplish at the time, and still accomplished to this day. So yeah, have you not seen Avatar? Why have you not seen Avatar? Like, what the heck, man? So why haven't you watched that? Comment that down below. I'd like to know. But yeah, are you planning on watching it before the sequel comes out? Are you planning on watching the sequel? Why or why not? Comment all that down below. Really, anything you want to comment down below, I would love to hear from you. I respond to pretty much all my comments. So yeah, down there, people. Let's get the discussion going. But yeah, leave a like on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And I will see you in the next video with my review for Avatar: The Way of Water.